10 Shocking Truths About Education from a Sarcastic Retired 35-Year Teacher. Most are funny or sad or both. Introduction. For 35 years, I stood at the front of classrooms pretending that everything was fine. I smiled, I nodded, I said, "That's a great question," when I actually meant I've answered that exact question 17 times this week. Now, 5 years retired and finally free, I can tell you what I really thought. My first day. On my first day of teaching in 1986, an administrator handed me a textbook and said, "Good luck, Mr. Stiles." I now realize this was less of a blessing and more of a warning label, like on a pack of cigarettes. I was 24 years old, full of idealism, and convinced I would make a difference. I had posters on my walls, motivational quotes, a plant that I watered daily. The plant died within 3 months. So did my idealism, though it only lasted until October. Is this going to be on the test? Yes, everything is going to be on the test. That is, in fact, the entire point of education. If I taught you something that wasn't going to be assessed, I would have been better off using my professional development hours by taking a nap. I also loved when students asked, "Do we have to remember this for later?" No, Timothy, you can forget everything I teach you. That's the American dream, after all. Spend 12 years in school, forget it all, and become a successful real estate agent. Bathroom passes. Can I use the bathroom? Every 3 minutes, every single day. When I started teaching, I thought bathroom passes were a reasonable accommodation. Now I understand they are a psychological warfare tactic designed specifically to destroy my will to live. A student will ask to use the bathroom when class starts. They will return 17 minutes later with a satisfied look on their face, having accomplished nothing in either realm. I once calculated that if you added up all the bathroom time taken by all the students in all my classes over 35 years, it would total approximately 11 years. 11 years of educational opportunity flushed down the drain, literally. Late work. I know it's 3 weeks late, but can I still turn it in? Why? What exactly has happened in those 3 weeks that prevented you from completing a 10-minute assignment? Did you discover the secret of cold fusion? Did you solve world hunger? Did you accomplish literally anything of value? I always said yes. Of course I said yes, because the administration said I had to accept late work, because grades should reflect learning. Because nothing says learning like turning in a book report in April about a book you were supposed to read in September. This is boring. Yes, I know. The French Revolution is boring. The quadratic formula is boring. The respiratory system of a frog is boring. Do you know what's even more boring? Teaching the same material 35 times to students who have decided in advance that they will not engage regardless of how many YouTube videos I play. I once planned an elaborate multi-week unit with hands-on activities, guest speakers, and creative projects. It took months and I was very proud of it. A student looked at me on day 1 and said, "Can't we just read from the textbook?" I never recovered. Meetings. I became a teacher because I wanted to teach. I quickly learned that teaching was perhaps 23% of the job. The other 77% was grading and meetings. Meetings about meetings, meetings to plan meetings, meetings about why we have too many meetings scheduled as a meeting. I once calculated that I spent approximately 4 years of my career in meetings. 4 years sitting in a room talking about education. I could have spent that time actually educating, but no, we needed to discuss best practices for 45 minutes while eating stale donuts. Grading. I have graded over 1.2 million papers. That is not an exaggeration. I did the math once, mostly to avoid grading. 1.2 million papers. If you stack them, they would reach approximately 6 miles high. I could have built a paper tower to the edge of the stratosphere. I could have started a paper company and become my own regional distributor. I wrote a short poem about grading. I graded papers on weekends. I graded papers on vacation. I graded papers on the toilet. I graded papers in every location. Thinking about it makes me sad. My little daughter saying, "Come on, Dad." But the ultimate bureaucratic crime is not having your grades in on time. The students, the good parts. Here's the thing nobody tells you about teaching. The students. The actual students, not the bathroom goers and the pencil borrowers and the "is this on the test" crowd. No, the real students. I had a sophomore once who wrote me a note saying I changed her life. She said I made her feel like learning was possible. I kept that note. I still have it. I've read it approximately 400 times during moments of crisis. There was Jerome, who came to my classroom every morning before school just to talk because he thought I was aight. There was Jenny, who was convinced she'd never understand math and then one day did. There was the entire class of 2006 that threw me a surprise party, complete with a neon green and blue iced cake that would give our current FDA fits. These students made it worth it. Every single year, even the bad years, even the bathroom crisis years, because of them. The students, the other parts. But also Trevor, always Trevor. Trevor would put his head down in class and refuse to participate, then tell his parents I was picking on him. Trevor would fail every assignment, then his mother would email me demanding to know why I hated her son. Trevor would disrupt the learning environment for 23 to 30 other students and receive a verbal warning, while I documented the incident 17 different ways for the administration. I taught approximately 8,000 students in my career. About 7,850 of them were fine. Some were genuinely wonderful, and approximately 150 were Trevors. It only takes one Trevor to ruin your Tuesday. The administrators. Speaking of Trevor, when I sent him to the office sent back, "Let's try some de-escalation techniques," they'd say. "Have you tried building a relationship?" Yes, I've tried building a relationship. I've tried building 7,000 relationships. Trevor specifically had tried to break every single one of them with his bare hands and his mother's phone number. Administrators, I imagine you have difficult jobs. I understand you're dealing with budget cuts, state testing requirements, political pressures, and you probably haven't slept since 2004. But please, for the love of all that's holy, Let me give a kid a detention without requiring a 17-page reflection form. State testing. For 3 weeks, my classroom became a proctoring facility. I read instructions. I administered tests. I watched students stare at pages with the intensity of a conspiracy theorist. And by intensity, I mean blank stare of absolute disconnection from reality. Then the scores came back, and I was evaluated based on those scores. And if the scores were low, it was my fault. If the scores were high, it was because the test was too easy or not measuring real learning. I once received an unsatisfactory evaluation because 23% of my students scored below proficient on a standardized test. Those same 23% of students also had individualized education plans that explicitly stated they would not be assessed on grade level standards. The district still counted them against me. But sure, let me differentiate my way out of that one. My retirement speech. They asked me to give a retirement speech. The administration wanted something heartfelt. The students wanted something short. I gave a speech. I said all the right things. I thanked the administrators and the parents and the community. I told heartfelt stories about students I'd taught. I used phrases like privilege and honor and shaping young minds. What I wanted to say was, thank you for a career of institutional gaslighting. Thank you for telling me that I could change lives while simultaneously preventing me from doing anything that might actually change a life. Thank you for the professional development that taught me nothing and the evaluations that evaluated nothing. Thank you for the budget that never covered supplies and the meetings that never accomplished anything. Thank you for the curriculum that was outdated in 1997 and is still outdated today. Thank you for the state testing that told me I was failing at my job. Thank you for 35 years of being told I was working in the most important profession while being paid like I was the least important part of that profession. But I didn't say that. Because I'm a professional. Well, I was. What I'll miss. I miss it. God help me, I miss it. 5 years out, and I miss it every day. I miss September, when everything was new and possible, and when I actually believed this year would be different. I strangely miss the stink of dry erase markers mixed with Axe body spray and damp gym socks. I miss the moment when a student's face changes. The light goes on and they finally get it, finally understand, finally see themselves as capable. I miss the colleagues who became friends and the friends who became family. I miss the kid who said good morning every day, even when he was having the worst day of his life. I miss the ones who came back, years later, to say thank you, to say I made a difference, to say they remembered. I miss it all. God help me, even the Trevor parts, even the mind-numbing daily crisis parts, even the is this on the test parts. Because underneath all the sarcasm, underneath all the exhaustion, underneath all the institutional nonsense that tried to break me, underneath all of it, there was this. I got to spend my life helping kids every day for 35 years. That's not nothing. That's everything. A note to new teachers. If you're starting your teaching career, welcome, and I'm sorry for you. Here's what I wish someone had told me. It will be harder than you think. You'll cry in your car. You'll question everything. You'll want to quit approximately once a week for the first 5 years, and then approximately once a month the next 30. But you'll also laugh. You'll also grow. You'll also watch a kid become something they never thought they could be. And one day, maybe 35 years from now, maybe sooner, you'll give a retirement speech, and you'll say all the right things, and you'll mean all of them, even the parts you couldn't say until you retired.